In a previous video, I spoke about how we can master our brain chemistry and hack into our happiness. We spoke about dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, the happy hormones. In this video, I want to speak about how the stress response works in our brain and in our body. We want to examine how we can work with certain practices and techniques to counter the stress. We need to remember that our mind is very powerful. We have the ability to work with our environment and with ourselves to be able to get some semblance of self-control. Maybe not total control, but we can get some semblance of control over our environment and definitely over our thoughts and how our body reacts to stress. The key is always self-awareness. That is the first part of everything. If we're not aware of what's going on in ourselves and in our environment, there's nothing we can do to counter it. In today's short explainer video, I want to dive into the 3 stress hormones: cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. Let's dive right in.
Welcome. Today, we're going to dive deep into your body's ancient and super powerful stress response. We're going to meet the 3 key chemicals that are basically running the show, and most importantly, we'll discover how you can actually become the master of this internal alarm system.
Have you ever wondered about this? Really thought about it. Why a looming deadline or a stressful meeting can make your heart pound and your palms sweat, like you're literally being chased by a predator. It feels so traumatic, right? So out of proportion. Well, it turns out there's a very, very good reason for that.
Here's the core of it. We are all running ancient survival software on modern-day hardware. Your body's stress response, it was brilliantly designed to handle immediate physical threats. The problem is, it can't tell the difference between a lion and a layoff notice. So it reacts to a nasty comment on social media with the exact same biological intensity it would to a real physical danger.
Now, this isn't some kind of design flaw. The fight-or-flight response is an absolutely incredible evolutionary tool. When it gets triggered by emotions like anger or fear, it unleashes this whole cascade of powerful chemical messengers that are designed for one thing: to save your life. It's a system built for pure survival, and it's run by a very specific, very potent team of chemicals.
So let's meet the cast of this internal drama, shall we? I like to call them the stress trio. 3 distinct chemicals that each play a critical role in how you experience stress, from that slow, simmering anxiety to that sudden, heart-stopping jolt of panic.
First up is cortisol. Think of cortisol as the manager of the operation. When your brain sounds the alarm, cortisol is the one that steps in to manage the crisis. It floods your body with glucose, that's sugar, for a quick energy boost, and it smartly shuts down anything that's not essential for immediate survival, like your digestive system. It's all about one thing: get ready right now.
Next, we've got adrenaline. Oh man. If cortisol is the manager, adrenaline is the blaring siren and the flashing red lights. This is that instant jolt you feel when a car cuts you off in traffic. It's what's responsible for the racing heart, that almost superhuman surge of strength, and senses that suddenly feel laser-focused. It's all about preparing you for immediate, powerful action. And rounding out our trio is norepinephrine. You can think of this one as adrenaline's strategic partner. While adrenaline gets the body physically revved up, norepinephrine fine-tunes the brain. It's the chemical of vigilance. It creates that intense, narrow focus, that tunnel vision that you need to assess a threat and respond to it, and fast. So these chemicals are amazing. They're lifesavers, in short bursts. But what happens when the alarm system never shuts off? What's the real cost of living in a state of chronic, low-grade fight or flight, triggered day in and day out by our modern lives?
Well, the cost is steep. Let's be honest, it's really damaging. When cortisol is always high, it leads to things like anxiety, weight gain, brain fog, just total burnout. Constant adrenaline rushes, that damages your cardiovascular system, leading to high blood pressure and a way higher risk of heart attack. And too much norepinephrine? That traps you in a cycle of perpetual anxiety, panic attacks, and terrible sleep. The very tools that were meant to save you start to break you down.
Okay, I know that sounds pretty bleak, but here is the empowering part. This is the whole point. You are not a victim of this ancient programming. Not at all. You actually have the power to consciously step in and regulate this system. You have a personal toolkit that you can use right now to regain control.
And the most powerful, most portable, and most immediate tool in that entire kit is your own breath. And I'm not just being poetic here. This is pure physiology. The idea that your breath is a superpower is literally true. It gives you a direct access panel to your own nervous system. So this toolkit for mastering the stress trio, it really comes down to 3 core practices: breath work, cold exposure, and developing your mindset through things like meditation. Let's just quickly touch on how each one of these works its magic.
Conscious breathing is like a manual override switch. Seriously, it allows you to physically shift your body out of that stressed out fight or flight mode and flip it over into the calm, rest and digest state. When you do that, you are actively, biologically, lowering the levels of cortisol and adrenaline in your system. Next up, cold exposure. A cold shower, an ice bath, it sounds a little crazy, I know, but it's a form of good stress. You're intentionally putting your body into a state of shock, but, and this is key, in a controlled environment. By learning to stay calm during that physical storm, you're training your nervous system to be way more resilient and less reactive when psychological stress hits.
And finally, mindset and meditation. This is all about prevention. These practices train you to just watch your thoughts without getting totally swept away by them. You create this crucial little gap, a pause, between a stressful trigger and your automatic reaction. And that pause can be enough to stop the stress trio from even getting called into action in the first place.
So how does this actually work on a chemical level? I mean, how can something as simple as taking a deep breath or a cold shower overpower such a powerful, ancient survival system? The answer is absolutely fascinating, and it all comes down to the science of your body's 2 different messaging systems.
Okay, this part is so cool. Here's the crucial point. Your body and your brain speak at totally different speeds. The hormonal messages in your body, that's our friends cortisol and adrenaline, they're slow. They travel through the bloodstream, they take seconds or even minutes to act, and their effects can linger for a long time. But the neurotransmitter messages in your brain, they're lightning fast. We're talking milliseconds.
And what's really interesting is that there's this biological bouncer called the blood-brain barrier that mostly keeps these 2 systems separate. Think of it like a security guard at a club. It keeps the slow hormonal messages in the body from just wandering into the brain, and it keeps the fast brain messages contained up there.
And this is the secret to taking control. This is the whole game. When you use tools like breathwork or meditation, you are using the lightning-fast messengers in your conscious brain to send a brand new message. You are telling your body, which is still swimming in those slow, lingering stress hormones, hey, the danger is over. You are safe. We are in control.
You know, it all comes back to this fundamental principle. All this incredible science is really just proving what wisdom traditions have taught for centuries. Cultivating awareness of what's happening inside you is the absolute key. It's not just some nice philosophy. It's a practical skill that allows you to consciously change your own biology.
So, the real takeaway here is this. You are not at the mercy of your ancient programming. You have a direct line of communication to your own body. You have the tools, and you have the biological capacity to tell it that you are safe, that you are calm, and that you are in control no matter what modern life decides to throw at you. So, the only real question left is, when are you going to start that conversation?
So you see, our biology has evolved to help us survive. But in the modern world, we have new stresses. And so we need a new approach on how to deal with these stresses. In the previous video, I spoke about the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of our nervous system that helps us to rest and digest, rest and restore, rest and repair. What we're talking about here is the sympathetic nervous system. It is our fight or flight response. We need it in order to survive. We need it in order to react to the stresses in our world. But if we stay too long in the system, if we are overly stressed and we stay in that fight or flight, what happens is that our immune system is diminished. In fact, while we're in pure fight or flight, the immune system is shut off, and that can lead to serious illness. Simple daily practices can make a massive difference to us. I cover this in great detail in my work through my 11 Elements framework. And if you'd like access to that, I'll leave the link in the description below. Be sure to visit my website for that and many other free resources, including resources in meditation, sound therapy, and a lot of other stuff. If you'd like to delve deeper into it, then subscribe to my website, or what you can do is also subscribe and follow this channel for a lot more content. I hope this video has been helpful for you. Stay strong.